Ladies and gentlemen, the following segment of the podcast is presented exclusively by the Heritage Foundation. For 52 years, Heritage has fought tirelessly for America's founding principles and advancing conservative public policies. Much more than a think tank, Heritage is a conservative policy powerhouse, fighting for the everyday American to advance common sense policies and dismantle the D.C. bureaucracy. Our founding fathers gave us an extraordinary system of government, and the Heritage Foundation is dedicated to defending the heritage and carrying on their legacy for future generations. So get involved by completing their national survey on President Trump's agenda by visiting heritage.org/Levin. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Paid for by the Great Heritage Foundation.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811. 877-381-3811. Breaking news, breaking right now. President Trump's back continuing resolution has passed the House of Representatives. It will cut $13 billion of non-defense spending. The post-millennial reports as following. Continuing resolution, spending bill backed by President Trump passed with a vote of 217 to 213. Not a single Democrat voted for it, meaning the Democrats would have shut down the government. It'll fund the government until September 30, 2025. It's a continuing resolution. The bill needed the overwhelming support of the Republicans in order to pass. They lost one Republican, Thomas Massie, who's basically a radical libertarian. I've often agreed with Massie, but you know, what people need to understand, including him, is the word prudence. Prudence. There are times to vote no, and there are times to vote yes. This is all there is to push through the president's spending cuts, tax cuts, these other things that need to get done. There's really no way around it. Number in the House is such that only 2 members of the GOP can oppose the measure if all members are present to push forward. House Speaker Mike Johnson this morning said, "We have to keep the government in operation. It's a fundamental responsibility of ours." J.D. Vance, who was there and spoke to them, echoed the sentiment. Let's see. President Trump focused on Massie, said Congressman Thomas Massie, there's an automatic vote of no on just about everything, despite the fact that he's always voted for continuing resolutions in the past. Actually, he hasn't. He's voted mostly against them. He should be primaried, and I will lead the charge against him. Just another grandstander who's too much trouble and not worth the fight, he wrote on Truth Social. Lawmakers have said the bill will cut $13 billion defense spending, as well as increase $6 billion for defense. The House Freedom Caucus, the conservatives, said its members would back the bill, adding it would reduce and then freeze spending for the next 6 months. Would reduce and then freeze spending for the next 6 months to allow President Trump and the administration to continue their critical work within the executive branch to find and eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse, which, my God, they're doing on steroids. The bill will now go to the Senate, and if passed there, will then go to the President. If signed, the government shutdown deadline coming on Friday will be avoided. Now, I'm predicting right now Murkowski will vote against this. Murkowski is a radical Democrat in barely Republican clothing. That's right. And with what's happening with the Department of Education, she's bought and paid for by the teachers' unions. People don't realize that she gets an enormous amount of support from them. She's bought and paid for. She's owned by them. And she is their reliable vote. So that's the second big story going on right now, breaking right now. As I speak, Department of Education faces up to, according to ABC News, 50% layoffs after the closure notice just went out. Reduction in force. Mass layoffs are expected to start tonight. The sources said the reduction in force notices are expected to go out 11 minutes ago. So they went out 11 minutes ago. Nearly half of the department is expected to be eliminated. That announcement came shortly after the Department of Education employees were told their offices would be closed for the day on Wednesday. I don't know how many are there in the first place. Let me tell you something. This was a boondoggle from day one. It was absolutely unnecessary. It was a bureaucracy, a payoff looking for a purpose. Education occurs at the state and local level, not at the federal level. We used to have a federal office of education that essentially oversaw the distribution of monies, Pell Grants, things of that sort, block grants to the states. When Reagan became president, he tried to get rid of it. But the Republicans in the Senate affirmatively blocked him. Remember, when Reagan won his massive landslide, he brought the Senate along with him. It was unexpected. One of the greatest popular election landslides and electoral election landslides in American history. Never seen anything like it. Still haven't ever seen anything like it. And you never will because of the change in demographics and so forth in the country. Donald Trump's landslide was a true landslide, but under different circumstances with a different population. It's the truth. But it was a massive landslide, Trump's victory. Now back to Reagan. I served in his administration for 8 years. One of the positions I held was as the principal deputy assistant secretary for elementary and secondary education. I've mentioned that in the past, distant past. Have I not, Mr. Producer? And what did we mostly do? We were a pass-through for money to states and localities, but we kept putting more and more requirements on it because the NEA and the AFT, what they couldn't get in local negotiating deals with local school boards or what they couldn't get out of state capitals, they'd come to the bureaucracy at the Department of Education in Washington to get federal mandates. What Reagan did, because his own Republicans in the Senate blocked him. And hopefully the Republicans in this Senate won't block Trump with his executive order reversing Carter's executive order. So he decided to have massive block grants where the vast majority of money that was rolling through the Department of Education for K through 12 will be sent in block grants to states and localities to spend as they sought fit with some very limited restrictions. President Trump still agrees with that, with what's left at the Department of Education. So many employees there and in these other departments really are completely unnecessary. Now, look, folks, Donald Trump didn't hide the ball. He said what he wanted to do. He said he wanted to slash government. He said he wanted to slash spending. He said he was all for tariffs. So even people who might disagree with him in the particulars, even if you do or I do, he said what he was going to do. And he was elected by a landslide on the basis of what he said. He's following up on what he said. He's following up on what he promises. Now step back and think about this. How do you cut the government without pissing off federal employees and their unions? How do you cut the government without ticking off the Democrat Party that's created 90% of this and is in their ideological DNA? How do you try and minimize, wrong word, how do you try to reduce and limit the power of the ruling class in Washington, D.C., because nobody's minimizing, but reduce it, and not tick off the media, which is part and parcel of that ruling class? You don't. And the federal judges, so many of them, mostly Biden and Obama appointees, but yes, some Republicans too. They seem to think their job is to protect these institutions, the bureaucrats, the waste, the fraud, the abuse, the bloat from a duly elected president and his administration that's trying to deliver on what they promised. So all this stuff you're hearing, all this criticism you're hearing are mostly, not exclusively, but mostly from the people who voted against Trump, who opposed Trump, who supported the other side. Again, there are individual instances where that's not the case, but in a macro sense, it absolutely is the case. So the same organizations, the same groups, the same media, the same guests in the media, the same government union bosses, and on and on and on, who desperately did everything they could to elect Kamala Harris and defeat Donald Trump, are out there trashing Trump. And, of course, getting all the media attention. You don't even hear from the people who actually support what Donald Trump is doing. You don't hear about the actual waste, fraud, and abuse, other than they're not going about it the right way. Like there's a right way. Nobody's ever done this before. There's no right way. There's no wrong way. There's only one way. You got to get it done. You can't play by Marcus and Queensberry rules when the other side's using brass knuckles. Subterfuge. Sabotage. When they're doing everything they can in Congress to disrupt hearings, to disrupt information that's presented to the American people. For those of you who have suffered, your children have suffered through the pandemic. For those of you who've attended local school board meetings and been treated like dirt. For those of you who believe your school system is out of control, that they don't respond to local parents and so forth anymore, this is a godsend. Because all these groups and people turn to the Federal Department of Education, don't they, for help? For help. This is a tremendous advance. It's tremendous progress for the cause of actual education, educating children. The Democrats will fight like hell for the education department. They'll fight like hell for the education department in Washington, D.C. They'll fight like hell for the two big public sector teachers unions who are massive contributors to them and man their precincts during the elections. They'll fight like hell for them. They fight against school choice. They fight against parental and child choice. They fight against anything that's not a government-run or government-controlled school. They do not care about children or education. That's right, I said it. I have fought this battle since I was 19 years old and elected to my local school board in Cheltenham Township, Pennsylvania, when I was in law school. It's the same battle. But now we have a president of the United States who literally is doing everything he can for the children of this country and their parents, for education. This is a major civil rights event. The Department of Education stands in the schoolway door, in the way of the school door, to prevent little kids who aren't getting educated, particularly in poor neighborhoods, from getting out and going to schools that are far superior, where there's no or fewer drugs and no or fewer crime. The president talks about liberation. This is a liberation day for education. It's not the only thing that needs to be done, but it is a big thing. It is a big thing. The new Secretary of Education, I salute you. And all the people who've been working on this, I salute them too. You and I, we're not going to cry over some massive bureaucracy. It's still going to be a massive bureaucracy, but just not as big. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Listen, folks, if you're like me, you're passionate about protecting our American values. That's why I trust the Heritage Foundation. They're dedicated to promoting policies based on free enterprise, limited government, and traditional American values. The Heritage Foundation does more than just produce policy recommendations. They're mobilizing conservatives across the country. And right now, they need you to take action by completing their national survey on President Trump's agenda. Your responses to this survey will help guide Heritage leadership as they work closely with folks in Washington to promote your values, secure America's borders, and restore our freedoms. Here's what I want you to do. Visit heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/LEVIN to complete your survey. It's very, very important. My friends at Heritage need you to act now to help them maximize the impact on President Trump's first 100 days. Heritage is committed to preserving our Founding Fathers' principles and ensuring that America remains a beacon of freedom and opportunity. So I know you won't sit on the sidelines. You'll get involved, please, today, and make your voice heard. Visit heritage.org/Levin. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Please complete your survey today. That's heritage.org/LEVIN, paid for by the Great Heritage Foundation. I'm about to post the following, ladies and gentlemen. As a former Deputy Assistant Secretary for Elementary and Secondary Education under President Reagan, 3 cheers for President Trump's order slashing the size of the Education Department. We tried to do the same, but Senate Republicans blocked us. The department is utterly unnecessary, was the brainchild of the teachers' unions and the Democrat Party, and has done nothing effective to improve education throughout our country. Better to block grant funds to the states, run the Pell Grant program and other such statutorily based programs out of a much smaller entity, and promote school choice for America's parents and children. That's how it should be done. I will post that right now. I want to make sure that my full-throated support is provided on every platform that I have. Every platform that I have. There's more breaking news tonight. Unfortunately, we only have one minute left in the segment. When we come back, I'll let Marco Rubio himself, in a clip that we captured, tell you what's taking place. The Ukrainian government, the wonderful Ukrainian people, the Ukrainian government unleashed well over 300 drones attacking the outskirts of Moscow, slamming into their apartment buildings, slamming into their civilian areas. Really, not a first, but a handful of times this has been done. And suddenly the Russian people are saying, wait a minute, they can hit us too? They can hit us too? Yeah, they can hit you too. More on that, and more on what Marco Rubio has to say. I'll be right back. Folks, I need to talk to you about something crucial to the future of America. Our friends at the Heritage Foundation are on the front lines fighting for our conservative values. Heritage is dedicated to promoting policies that will help bolster our economy, protect our borders, and uphold the rule of law. They're working tirelessly to defend our Constitution and the principles that make America exceptional. To help accomplish this, they need you to complete their national survey on President Trump's agenda today. So you can participate in this survey by going to heritage.org/Levin. That's heritage.org/Levin. Your responses are crucial to this survey, and they'll provide Heritage leadership with crucial feedback as they work closely with the folks in Washington to promote your values, secure America's borders, and restore our freedoms. By completing this very important survey today, you're standing up for the values that have made this country great. And my friends at Heritage need you to act now to maximize their impact on President Trump's first 100 days. So please don't wait. Our future depends on you. Together, we can make a difference, and future generations inherit a nation that is free, prosperous, and strong. So please, right now, visit heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/Levin, complete your survey, and join the fight for America's future. That's heritage.org/Levin, paid for by the Great Heritage Foundation.
Mark Levin, America's passionately cerebral voice. Talk with that voice now. 877-381-3811.
Lots going on in this country, America, and most of it good. Oh, I'm not talking about the left and the Democrats. No. We have an administration that's on the move, and most of it is good. All of it won't be good. That's the nature of the beast, no matter who the president is. But most of it, the vast majority of it, is very good. Marco Rubio in Saudi Arabia made this announcement not long ago. Cut one, go.
Today we made an offer that the Ukrainians have accepted, which is to enter into a ceasefire and into immediate negotiations to end this conflict in a way that's enduring and sustainable and accounts for their interests, their security, their ability to prosper as a nation. I want to personally thank, we both want to thank the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, His Majesty, for hosting us, for making this possible. They've been instrumental in this process, and we're very grateful to them for hosting us here today. And hopefully we'll take this offer now to the Russians. And we hope that they'll say yes, to peace. The ball is now in their court. And but again, the president's objective here is, number one, above everything else, he wants the war to end. And I think today Ukraine has taken a concrete step in that regard. We hope the Russians will reciprocate.
Now, we'll see, won't we? We shall see. Don't worry, I'm going to get to this guy, Mahmoud Khalil. I'll get to it. We've helped start all this. We've helped demand all this, starting in the Biden regime. The use of our immigration laws, the use of federal funding, the use of our criminal laws, to address the anti-Semitism that is spreading like a cancer throughout our universities, and then beyond that, in the Democrat Party and among some of the pathetic morons on the quote-unquote right, where it seemed to be getting a foothold, a foot and mouth hold. So that's very good. What Ukraine is doing. I hope we sign that minerals thing sooner than later. That's what was supposed to happen, I thought, or is going to happen. Here's the National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz, who was standing there with Marco Rubio. They were both in Saudi Arabia. Cut two, go.
We've discussed a number of things, prisoner exchanges, folks that were detained and what have you, but the fighting has to stop. I mean, that's what we agreed today. And just think about it. We've gone from if the war is going to end to now how the war is going to end, and this was an important first step, and that was under President Trump's leadership. He has literally moved the entire global conversation to where we had a very senior Ukrainian delegation with us today. We've had engagements with our Russian counterparts, and now it's how the war is going to end, and that's under President Trump's leadership.
And as General Jack Keane, former four-star Army general, said on my program over the weekend, we're not going to see if the Russians are serious or not, or if their demands are so onerous that they simply cannot be met by any rational nation, like Ukraine. And here's President Trump commenting on the events. Cut 3, go.
But very importantly, and I said it, Ukraine, ceasefire. Ukraine, ceasefire. Just agreed to a little while ago. Now we have to go to Russia, and hopefully President Putin will agree to that also, and we can get this show on the road. We can get this horrible war where 2,000-3,000 soldiers a week, every week, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 sometimes. I get the reports. And they're not American soldiers. They're Ukrainian and they're Russian. But people are being killed outside of that. People are being killed in the cities as things explode throughout the cities. And we want to get that war over with. So I think it's a very big, I think it's a big difference between the last visit you saw at the Oval Office and this. So that's a total ceasefire. Ukraine has agreed to it, and hopefully Russia will agree to it. We're going to meet with them later on today and tomorrow, and hopefully we'll be able to wipe out a deal. But I think the ceasefire is very important. If we can get Russia to do it, that'll be great. If we can't, we just keep going on, and people are going to get killed. Lots of people.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see how this proceeds. Now, here's the thing. When you listen to Trump, you have an engaged, thoughtful man as President of the United States. Compare that to what we just had 2 months ago. 2 months ago. It seems forever ago, doesn't it? You know, there's a story I didn't get to yesterday where they've looked at all these documents that Biden signed, right, Mr. Producer? Turns out he didn't sign them, did he? The autograph machine was signing a lot of them. His signatures were identical. Which raises very, very serious constitutional questions. Well, you have staff who covered up for him, staff who may have taken actions for him or encouraged him to take in ways he didn't quite comprehend. We had a media that covered it all up. Never forget this. This is why you can never trust this media. The media, just like the government, just like other things, has grown into something that was never intended. Never intended. And it's openly so. You have all these Democrats who leave presidential administrations or leave senators or congressmen or leave non-governmental organizations that are Democrat in culture and in fact, and they go into the press. I love it when people say, you're part of the media. I am not a journalist. They're journalists. That's how they promote themselves. That's how they organize themselves. That's how they give each other awards on investigative reporting. But they're not. On freedom of the press, I can't restate everything I wrote in that book, but that's really the most comprehensive explanation of what's going on with the press in America today. It's not a free press. I mean, these people in the press today, they think a free press means that they're free to do and say whatever they want. That's true. They are free to do that, ladies and gentlemen, just as we are, and we should be. But what the framers meant by a free press was an organization, effectively, of various pamphleteers and newspapers back then that were covering events of the day. Now, they could have their opinions and everything else, and they did. You had the party press at the beginning of our republic. As soon as we had political parties, we had party press. The Arizona Republic, way back, was considered a Republican newspaper. St. Louis Democrat, things of that sort. They were literal arms of these political parties. Pardon me. But as the late 1800s, early 1900s, 1930s rolled around, they decided that they were going to, quote unquote, professionalize themselves, just as they were going to professionalize the government. A little less democracy, a little bit more bureaucracy, Now, there's a lot less democracy and a hell of a lot more bureaucracy. The point is this. The media was presenting itself, as I wrote in my book, as a professional organization seeking to truly present the news. That's not what it is today. That's simply not what it is today. Now, when we come back, I want to discuss this guy, Khalil, Mahmoud Khalil. The Democrat Party is coming to his defense. The Democrat media is coming to his defense. The slip and fall ambulance chasing Democrat judges are coming to his defense. Who is he? Is it the same media that spewed the Hamas data? Yes. Is it the same media that turned on the state of Israel? Yes. Yes, it is. You see, ladies and gentlemen, there's been more violence on Columbia University's campus than there was on January 6th. Did you know that? I just thought of that. And yet they call it free speech. It's not an accident that the group CARE, Council on American Islamic Relations, which claims to be the largest Muslim civil rights group in America. Very interesting, since a Hamas-related front group founded in 1993 in a Marriott hotel outside the Philadelphia airport that the FBI was bugging. And they got every damn word in Arabic and English of their conspiracy to create a front group for the terrorists in the Middle East, specifically Hamas. And the media, Reuters, another lousy, good-for-nothing wire service. Yes, they quote CARE. CARE believes that Mr. Khalil, if that is his name, should be released immediately. Of course they do. The head of CARE was celebrating October 7th. Was caught on a microphone. Actually had to be publicly denounced by the Biden regime, which, of course, they don't like to denounce their Hamas-supporting supporters. But they did. So we'll talk about this. President Trump has been outstanding in confronting this. I would just add this. It's important that we deport people who are effectively operators for Hamas. But more the reason not to negotiate Americans directly with Hamas. We're deporting their supporters in our country. We ought not be negotiating with them directly over there. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Listen, folks, if you're like me, you're passionate about protecting our American values. That's why I trust the Heritage Foundation. They're dedicated to promoting policies based on free enterprise, limited government, and traditional American values. The Heritage Foundation does more than just produce policy recommendations. They're mobilizing conservatives across the country. And right now, they need you to take action by completing their national survey on President Trump's agenda. Your responses to this survey will help guide Heritage leadership as they work closely with folks in Washington to promote your values, secure America's borders, and restore our freedoms. Here's what I want you to do. Visit heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/LEVIN to complete your survey. It's very, very important. My friends at Heritage need you to act now to help them maximize the impact on President Trump's first 100 days. Heritage is committed to preserving our founding fathers' principles and ensuring that America remains a beacon of freedom and opportunity. So I know you won't sit on the sidelines. You'll get involved, please, today, and make your voice heard. Visit heritage.org/Levin. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Please complete your survey today. That's heritage.org/LEVIN, paid for by the Great Heritage Foundation. Let's get this started. We're going to have to carry this over into the next hour, of course. Things don't end just because the clock clicks. President Trump outside the White House today on this guy, Khalil. Question by Peter Ducey. Cut 4, go.
President Trump, there's this protest leader from Columbia University that the administration is moving to deport. He said that his arrest is going to be the first of many. How many?
I think we ought to get them all out of the country. They're troublemakers. They're agitators. They don't love our country. We ought to get them the hell out. I think that guy, we ought to get him. I heard his statements, too. They were plenty bad. And I think we ought to get him the hell out of the country. I watched him. I watched tapes. Specifically, I watched tapes. And you can have them, okay? You can have them. And you can have the rest of them. Let them go to school. Let them learn. Columbia used to be a good school. Now it's been overrun because of bad leadership. That's what happens. Happens to countries, and it happens to universities, and it happens to companies.
Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Now, Mike Johnson today. Cut 5, go.
What crime did Mahmoud Khalil commit to warrant his arrest, detention, and the potential revocation of his green card?
Let me tell you something. I went face down the angry mob at Columbia at the height of that stuff. When the pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas protesters were there. I'm telling you, this is my own observation, not something I read in the newspaper. It was dangerous. I met with Jewish students before we went to campus who were holed away off campus because they were instructed by the administration not to come to class, which they paid for fear of their physical safety. The administrators there refused to take control of that campus. They refused to allow the PD to come, the police department to come in and take control, and it turned into a chaos. The president has since been removed, and now they got the same problem again. Columbia and other universities, they have to keep control of campus. The first responsibility of an administration is ensuring the safety of the students who are paying tuition to be there, for crying out loud. This madness has to stop. We have to get control of it. This guy apparently was a mastermind of those very things, when the gnashing of teeth and the ripping of clothes and the people screaming at me, wanting to rip me limb from limb because I was there talking about moral clarity and how there's a right and a wrong. We're doing that. They disrupted the campus. They were threatening physical violence to their fellow students. If you're on a student visa, I'm going to say this clearly. If you are on a student visa and you're in America and you're an aspiring young terrorist who wants to prey upon your Jewish classmates, you're going home. We're going to arrest your tail, and we're going to send you home where you belong. And this is just getting started. So, look, I appreciate free speech. I used to defend it in courts, but this is far beyond the pale of that. When you are threatening your classmates and spewing anti-Semitism and all this hatred, it's enough. And I think the American people understand that. They're supporting it, and I'm glad we have a president who's strong enough to lay down the law.
This has nothing to do with free speech. It's funny, the Democrat Party that hates free speech, the Democrat Party that hates the First Amendment and the rest of the Constitution, the Democrat Party that did everything they could on social media to silence differing opinions, Democrat Party that created a bureaucratic speech monitor in the Department of Homeland Security, a federal district judge in appellate court found it appalling, something they'd never actually seen before. We don't need lectures about the First Amendment from them. Marxist Islamists who preach hate, violence, who are militant, who are riotous, need to go. And for the so-called reporter that asked the question, you don't need to commit a crime to be deported, you dumbass. You don't even know what the rules are. You're not required to create a crime, to commit a crime to be deported, even though they have, by the way, and I talked about that in my opening statement Saturday on Fox, and I've talked about it on The Blaze, and I've talked about it here. They have, actually. But that said, you don't have to. That's not the standard. You're here as a guest. You're not a citizen. You're not a citizen. Ann Coulter's too stupid to understand this, too. I noticed. Oh, just tell me what the crime is. The crime is, shut your mouth. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number 877-381-3811. 877-381-3811. Now let's talk about this guy, Mahmoud Khalil. You understand now the Democrat Party, the Democrat activist judges, the Democrat media, and of course the Hitler Youth are coming to his defense. Well, who is he? Who is he? What are the beliefs of Mahmoud Khalil's activist group, the CUAD? Writes Michael Starr at the Jerusalem Post. The Saturday arrest at Columbia University apartheid divest senior activist Mahmoud Khalil. He's actually not a student anymore. The organization that has been involved in a series of confrontations with New York City academic institutions has been thrust back into the spotlight. The issue of law enforcement action against the group's leadership cannot be separated from the actions and objectives of the group, CUAD. CUAD! Which perceives itself as a revolutionary force working toward the destruction of the United States and Israel. In other words, it's Hamas. It's got Hamas's mission statement, okay? It's what it is. You don't let their students into our country, and you don't negotiate with them. It's very simple, not complicated. The means to achieve this are not just through vandalism and civil unrest, which the group directly employs, as the group also supports terrorism at home and in the Middle East, praising the October 7 massacre as the pinnacle of revolutionary action. No wonder the Democrat Party and our media support this guy, huh? CUAD, a coalition of far-left and anti-Israel student activist organizations, led many of the post-October 7 protest actions at Columbia University. Isn't it funny how the media don't want to know who funds this group? Isn't it funny? Mediaite, you going to look into that? No, you got a bunch of fat asses who just sit there and watch TV, listen to radio. Okay. Where are the investigative reporters? Where are they? New York Slimes? Washington Compost? Oh, Ruth Marcus, are you out there? The flagship Columbia encampment established in April inspired a global campaign emulating the occupation of campus spaces. The Columbia encampment projected a project culminated in the occupation of Hamilton Hall. Oh, that's just free speech, with the activists remaining the conquered facility Heinz Hall. In the short term, the protests sought to pressure New York academic institutions to disclose all investments, cut any financial and academic ties with Israel. In other words, the BDS movement. Yet the revolutionary ideology that motivates CUAD seeks more than these immediate objectives, in the same way that new demands have arisen by activist groups once their calls for a ceasefire were met. They're taking their orders from terrorists, you see. The group sees the United States as an empire, with their fight within the belly of the beast, inextricably connected to the fight of Hamas and other terrorist organizations in the Levant. You understand? That's what this guy is. QAD, like most anti-Israel organizations, sees the entirety of Israel as an illegitimate project, not limiting their designs to the Green Line in an October Instagram post that describes 76 years of Nakba, an Israeli state illegitimacy. Further explaining in an October 17 Substack article commemorating the October 7 massacre that it would not stop, demonstrating until Zionism ends. Zionism is nothing more than Israel, the state of Israel, and all the people within it. Colonial projects all die, and Zionism will not be saved, they said. The so-called liberation sought by these activists is a global revolution, highlighted by their calls to restore the U.S. to Turtle Island, quote-unquote, in the same fashion as they propose Israel become Palestine. An encampment banner shown in a June 1 CUAD Instagram post called for the liberation from Turtle Island to Palestine, from the United States to Israel. In an August 16 Substack article connecting the theories of controversial post-colonial political philosopher Franz Fanon to practice. CUAD members wrote, as students living in the U.S., we recognize we must work hard to weaken U.S. imperialism. CUAD repeatedly describes both Israel and America as part of the same imperial system. All right, let me stop here. If you've read American Marxism, you know all about this. If you listen to this show, you know all about this. It's an amazing thing. I talk about these things at great length, and groups like Mediaite and Media Matters and the rest of them, all they care about is if they can come between Trump and me. I already told them it's not going to work. But all these other things we discuss at length, substantive things, important things, about Qatar, about Saudi Arabia, about Hamas, about the Muslim Brotherhood, all these things we discussing in the United States as well, they utterly ignore because they're not a news site. They're a crap site. That's all they are. CUAD repeatedly describes both Israel and the U.S. as part of this imperial system. You can go online and read Hamas's mission statement. Hamas, in their quote, brothers and sisters, talk about the destruction of the West, including the United States. Israel, of course. This is an international Islamic terrorism movement in every country on the face of the earth, even in Muslim countries. Most of these Arab countries do not want the Palestinians there because they know the Palestinians are more like the Hamas Palestinians than the Western media will allow you to discuss. I will say it. Nobody else will. This is very important to understand. In a November 21 Substack article describing how a CUAD reading group studies the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, that's another terrorist group, one student supposedly remarked, the struggle in Palestine is my fight as a black person in America. The movement for Palestinian liberation is not isolated, the writer said. It is part of the global anti-imperialist struggle. The interconnectedness of struggles against imperialism is critical. Revolution sparks revolution. Okay, he's spewing Marxism. And I tell you over and over again, it's the fusion of Marxism and Islamism. That's what's going on here. The destruction of the West. The rejection of the Enlightenment. And so they're going to try and use our Constitution and use the Biden-Obama judges as cover for their revolution inside the United States of America. The means accepted to achieve the destruction of the United States and Israel included, in their words, armed violence. Armed violence. What do you think about that? CUAD repeatedly describes both Israel and the U.S. as this imperial front. The movement for Palestinian liberation is not isolated. The means acceptable to achieve the destruction of Israel and the United States included armed violence and terrorism. And so then we have a reporter, and where's your evidence of a crime? That's not what you need, you schmuck. This is enough. In an October 8 Instagram post in which the CUAD leadership, of which this clown is, apologized to member Kamani James for coming out against his January statements proclaiming Zionists don't deserve to live, quote unquote, suggesting it was inclined to kill them because of their supposed evil ideology. CUAD reiterated their support for the tool of political violence. From their letter, they wrote, in part, in light of this, we as CUAD organizers want to... So this is what's going on in Columbia, on their campus. We want to apologize first and foremost to Gemani. We caused irrevocable harm to you by contributing to the ostracization you experienced from your fellow students, fellow organizers, and media and the public. The anti-blackness and queer phobia that Khamenei experienced and continues to experience from neoliberals, neoliberal media, fascists, and others is disgusting. That's the group. We support liberation by any means, including armed resistance, quote unquote, said CUAD. Remember, this guy's one of the leaders. The face of violence from the oppressor, the Marxist Islamist fusion. Equipped with the most lethal military force on the planet, we have exhausted all peaceful means of resolution. Violence is the only path forward. The Substack articles posted by CUAD are rife with battlefield reports describing how Hamas and Hezbollah are fighting heroically against the IDF. Excuse me, in an August 16 article, the group assured a reader that Hamas and the Houthis were progressive forces because of the support of the people and the roles in weakening the United States imperialism. Boy, sounds like some of the America Firster clowns in our own movement, don't they, Mr. Producer? American imperialism. Morons. The rockets fired by the Houthis and other terrorist organizations against Israeli civilian centers is cast in a glorified tone. Quote, for over a year, the resistance to this genocidal occupation has been a banner of hope for many since Operation Al-Aqsa flood. With the axis of resistance remaining strong, CUAD wrote in the same newsletter. This past November 7th, they described Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar as a brave man who will live in the hearts of many. They praised the October 7 massacre as Sinwar's crowning achievement because the Al-Aqsa flood was the very essence of what it is to resist with what we have. The act of Palestinian resistance on October 7th, this is the group the guy heads. I want you to know what we're talking about. Notice the Al-Aqsa flood breached Israeli security and made significant military advances. This is a day that will go down in history. And besides Sinwar, the arch-terrorists of Hamas and Hezbollah are the icons of CUAD, with the group mourning the death of Hamas leader Ismail. CUAD documents regularly, quote, the PFLP founder George Habash and deceased Hezbollah Secretary General Nasrallah. They did this as recently November 21, praised the concept of martyrism. A spokesperson for the PFLP, is a favorite yabba dabba do of the group. And it goes on. So this group is swimming in terrorism, swimming in terrorist propaganda. And so I will ask the reporters who go to the White House press room, when are you and your corporate entities going to investigate who funds CUAD? When will you do that? Since apparently Elon Musk and others are not allowed to look. The review of this literature to understand terrorism was not an isolated incident. November article about how PFLP and the Democrat Front for the Liberation of Palestine operations led a student to say they highlighted the importance of celebrating resistance as a source of inspiration. And to further underscore Mark's point, the October 17 article described how they read Mao Zedong's on guerrilla warfare to analyze and glean lessons from the October 7 massacre. Most recently, before Khalil's arrest, dozens of Kifa-clad activists entered Barnard's Millbank Hall, leaving the hallways graffitied after the occupation ended. The group demanded amnesty for disciplined students and negotiations for their main demands, threatening to continue the occupation and disruption until the administration caved. Khalil's arrest is not a matter of free speech. It's a matter of how the U.S. will continue to respond to the campus production of the fifth column that seeks violent revolution within our own country. And I would say to the Republicans in the House and the Senate, any judge that tries to wrap this in free speech in the First Amendment should be impeached. It's a new day. But, Mark, we don't impeach judges for this. Well, we should. I'm well aware of the Salmon Chase issue. I'm well aware of Jefferson. I'm well aware of our history. But any judge that gives American constitutional protection to terrorism must be removed. Because that tells me they're nothing more than an Obama or Biden Marxist in thinking and perhaps in kind. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
This country was founded on freedom. Freedom from a country that forced us to buy overpriced tea, then try blockading us when we dumped their tea into the ocean. How'd that work out? Well, it's time to throw your overpriced big wireless contract overboard, too. You don't need to pay $100 a month per person just to get a free phone. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, says no to inflated prices and gimmicks. With a qualifying plan of just $45 a month, you can choose a free iPhone 14 or a free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plans. And yes, this is for a premium service. Unlimited talk, text, 25 gigs of data, and mobile hotspot at a fraction of the price of the big three. All on America's most dependable 5G network. Get your free iPhone 14 or Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plans by visiting puretalk.com/Levin today. Switching is easy. Again, that's puretalk.com/LEVIN to claim your free iPhone or Galaxy with a qualifying purchase from Pure Talk. America's wireless company, my wireless company. You know, folks, we got a lot of breaking news tonight. A lot. Including this. Literally just broke. New York Post. U.S. negotiations with Hamas were only a one-off that hasn't borne fruit, Rubio says. I want you to understand, this is why I speak out the way I do. Very friendly. Trying to provide positive guidance to our friends when I think they've made a wrong turn. Not to defy, not to undermine, not to attack, but to help. Rubio also said it didn't bear fruit. That was predictable from day one. Trump administration's secret talks with Hamas were a one-off situation that hasn't borne fruit, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio just said, discussing the secret talks during his trip to Saudi Arabia. Rubio defended hostage envoy Adam Boehler's decision to negotiate directly with Hamas. I condemn it, and I think the things he said over the weekend were absolutely reckless. With Hamas earlier this month breaking away from America's decades-long policy and angering Israel, not just Israel, a lot of Americans who don't believe you should negotiate with subhuman monsters. That was a one-off situation in which our special envoy for hostages, whose job it is to get people released, had an opportunity to talk directly to someone who has control over these people and was given permission and encouraged to do so, Rubio told reporters. As of now, it hasn't borne fruit. Doesn't mean he was wrong to try. No, he was wrong to try. That's just Mark's opinion. News of America's direct dealings with Hamas met with instant condemnation. Let's see. Both the Trump administration and Hamas claim the talks are moving along in a positive direction. Doesn't appear that lasted very long. Stephen Witkoff, who's in Saudi Arabia after discussing a 30-day ceasefire proposal on the Ukraine war, arrived in Qatar Tuesday to broker the future of the strained truce between Israel and Hamas. Look, no negotiations, no brokering, no deals with Hamas. The Israelis know what the hell they're doing. They've been dealing with this for at least 80 years. Got it? Let them do what they have to do. Let them do what they have to do. Let's back them up, and let's get this done. That's the fastest way you get it over with. Not with Biden and not with this envoy. Just saying. I'll be right back. This country was founded on freedom. Freedom from a country that forced us to buy overpriced tea, then try blockading us when we dumped their tea into the ocean. How'd that work out? Well, it's time to throw your overpriced big wireless contract overboard, too. You don't need to pay $100 a month per person just to get a free phone. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, says no to inflated prices and gimmicks. With a qualifying plan of just $45 a month, you can choose a free iPhone 14 or a free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plans. And yes, this is for a premium service. Unlimited talk, text, 25 gigs of data, and mobile hotspot at a fraction of the price of the big three, all on America's most dependable 5G network. Get your free iPhone 14 or Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plans by visiting puretalk.com/Levin today. Switching is easy. Again, that's puretalk.com/LEVIN to claim your free iPhone or Galaxy with a qualifying purchase from Pure Talk. America's wireless company, my wireless company.
The Mark Levin Show, live and national at 877-381-3811.
Caroline Levitt today, the White House presser. Cut 6, go.
Does the administration believe that it needs to charge a green card holder with a crime to be eligible?
Okay, once again, I think it's the same moron. He does not need to be charged with a crime. Period. Shouldn't a reporter, when they go into these news events, at least become somewhat familiar with the topic that they're asking questions about? Shouldn't they? Shouldn't they? Now, in my view, honestly, the U.S. Attorney's Office, and if not them, the Main Justice Criminal Division, should bring criminal charges against this guy because there are criminal statutes that are triggered. Nonetheless, to deport him, to yank his green card and deport him doesn't require a criminal violation. Hello, everybody together, to the media. It doesn't require a criminal violation. Morons, go ahead.
Well, in fact, Secretary Rubio reserves the right to revoke the visa of Mahmoud Khalil, and I'm glad you brought this up. Under the Immigration and Nationality Act, the Secretary of State has the right to revoke a green card or a visa for individuals who serve or are adversarial to the foreign policy and national security interests of the United States. For example,
are talking about overthrowing the United States, who are Hamas and terrorist mouthpieces, who talk about violence against the United States, who've committed acts, their group has, of violence against Jewish students, preventing Jewish students from going to class, trespassing, taking over one of the buildings on campus. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, it seems to me they've done a lot more damage than the January 6ers ever did. No, Mr. Producer? I wonder if Isaac Schur, are you sure, Isaac? I wonder if Isaac Schur, the clown show, one-man clown show at Mediaite, when he's not contributing pieces to the New York Post, I wonder if Isaac Schur will make the point that there have been more acts of violence, I mean real physical violence, against American citizens. Why don't they add up the numbers? Why don't they look how many people have been prosecuted? Why don't they look at those numbers? I mean, would it be better if we call Alil the head of the Proud Boys? Would that do better? Or what was that other group? I don't even remember. Would that help? Would that help? I'm just curious. Go ahead.
And Mahmoud Khalil was an individual who was given the privilege of coming to this country to study at one of our nation's...
Do you understand that, media? It's a privilege, not a right. And Coulter obviously is too stupid to understand it, which is why Mediaite quotes her. Not about anything else but that. Why? Because Mediaite supports this group too, apparently. Why? Because Mediaite's stupid too. It's run by Dan Abrams. But all the media are. They're just one of many. One of many. It's a privilege to come to the United States. The basis for immigration... The basics here, the basis for immigration is people come to the country who will contribute to the well-being of the nation, not who will overthrow it and spread terrorist, Jew-hating, American-hating propaganda. Isn't that right, Judge? Isn't that right, Judge? Well, I can't wait for your ruling, pal. We're going to take a very close look at it. Go ahead.
In colleges. And he took advantage of that opportunity, of that privilege, by siding with terrorists, Hamas terrorists who have killed innocent men, women, and children. This is an individual who organized group protests.
Isn't it sad she has to go through this? That the media doesn't even give a crap what took place to these Jews? They don't care. The best I can tell, really, only Fox and a handful of others, not many, are interviewing the Jews that were victims of this. Now put the shoe on the other foot. If it was Jews doing this to Muslims, you'd never hear the end of it, would you? Or if this were being done to African Americans, you'd never hear the end of it, would you? If this were being done to gay people, you'd never hear the end of it, would you? And you shouldn't. But it's being done to Jews. Oh, okay, it's just the Jews. They kind of deserve it, don't they? They kind of deserve it, don't they? We even have disgusting reprobates, quote unquote, on the right, who spew this crap. Go ahead.
College campus classes and harassed Jewish American students and made them feel unsafe on their own college campus, but also distributed pro-Hamas propaganda, flyers with the logo of Hamas. That is what the behavior and activity that this individual engaged in. And I have those flyers on my desk. They were provided to me by the Department of Homeland Security. I thought about bringing them into this briefing room to share with all of you, but I didn't think it was worth the dignity of this room.
No, it's not dignity of the room. Those people could give a damn, the vast majority. They don't care. They have access to the brochures, too. They don't care. I mean, they have access to the video, what took place on October 7th by Hamas, the very group that this guy's promoting. The very group that founded CARE, that's quoted in the media. Reuters goes to CARE, a Hamas front group. What tripping? This guy should be released. You know, there's a First Amendment here. Now, the fundamentalists, the Islamic fundamentalists, they don't recognize any First Amendment. They think that's hilarious. The Constitution, the West, Enlightenment, it's all crap. It's what they're trying to burn down. Go ahead.
Propaganda, but that's what this individual distributed on the campus of Columbia University, and this administration is not going to tolerate individuals having the privilege of studying in our country and then siding with pro-terrorist organizations that have killed Americans. We have a zero-tolerance policy for siding with terrorists, period.
And I want to thank you, young lady. I want to thank the President. I want to thank the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Education, the Attorney General, the FBI Director, the soon-to-be Deputy FBI Director, Brother Bongino. I want to thank Leo Terrell. I want to thank the Secretary of DHS and the whole of government effort here. The prior regime was the whole of government to cover for these people, to protect these people, to get their votes. To get their votes. All the talk about civil liberties. This is an administration that promotes civil liberties, that defends civil liberties. That's what they're doing right now. Civil liberties. From terrorists, terrorist militia, terrorist mouthpieces, the Hitler Youth. We literally have a Democrat Party that's at it again. That's at it again. Melissa Murray is an NYU professor, so she must know something, right? She knows nothing. She's on MSNBC today. You know why they brought her on? Because this really isn't appropriate, what's being done to poor Khalil here. Cut 7, go.
Does Rubio have the power to revoke a person's green card or legal status?
So, under the immigration laws, there are extreme circumstances where someone's status can be reconsidered if they are aligned with, for example, a terrorist organization or an organization that's been designated a terrorist organization. It is not the case here that Mr. Khalil, that there's any evidence that he is aligned with a terrorist organization or is part of a terrorist organization.
No, there's no evidence at all. I just read you an article where his DNA and fingerprints are everywhere. But don't worry, this is an NYU professor. You understand? So in order to be an NYU professor, really effectively just down the street from Columbia, you have to be a moron. You have to be part of the faculty. You understand? You have to be part of this whole milieu. This whole, she's welcome to come on my show and debate me. They all are, but they won't. They all are. What a joke. All of them. By the way, AOC, you're out there. You want to go into red Republican districts and hold town hall meetings. Isn't that what she said, Mr. Producer? Why don't you come on this program? We'll have a national town hall meeting. That's right. Millions and millions of people. We have our national town hall meeting every single evening. I want you to contact her office for the 4 billionth time. I'm serious, Rich. Invite her on the program. Tell her we'll have a national town hall meeting, but a debate. She can't have her head so far up Bernie Sanders' ass that she's looking at his nostrils. No. This isn't a Communist Party, cabal. This is, let's have a debate, AOC. Let's do it. You'll be here in front of millions of people. Lots of people in red states and all states. In fact, people in your own home district. Right in New York City. Oh, yeah. We can do this, You want to come on, coward? And by the way, I'll be respectful if you do. As long as you don't, I'm never going to be respectful. I don't like little commie bastards. It's just in my blood. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
This country was founded on freedom. Freedom from a country that forced us to buy overpriced tea, then try blockading us when we dumped their tea into the ocean. How'd that work out? Well, it's time to throw your overpriced big wireless contract overboard, too. You don't need to pay $100 a month per person just to get a free phone. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, says no to inflated prices and gimmicks. With a qualifying plan of just $45 a month, you can choose a free iPhone 14 or a free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plans. And yes, this is for a premium service. Unlimited talk, text, 25 gigs of data, and mobile hotspot at a fraction of the price of the big three. All on America's most dependable 5G network. Get your free iPhone 14 or Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plans by visiting puretalk.com/Levin today. Switching is easy. Again, that's puretalk.com/LEVIN to claim your free iPhone or Galaxy with a qualifying purchase from Pure Talk. America's wireless company, my wireless company. All right, Mr. Producer, let's keep at it. I think what we're doing here is very important, but then again, what do I know? Melissa Murray, she's a professor after all at NYU, which is doing a fabulous job there in promoting Jew hatred, American hatred, anti-Semitism, and violence. NYU, doing a great job. You look at these schools, Columbia, NYU, you look at the names on the buildings, a lot of them are Jewish philanthropists. You look at their endowments, a lot of them come from Jewish groups, Jewish foundations. What a joke. Cholera. Hey, it happens here in the United States. Land of the free and the open borders. Anyway, looks like the price of eggs have come down. In fact, they've come down lower than they were when Donald Trump took office. Now, just 48 hours ago, I could have sworn that Jim Jeffries and Chuck Schumer were talking about the price of eggs. Now they have egg on their face. Now what are they going to say? Caroline Levitt again at the White House briefing about egg prices. They're way down. And I'm sure that's going to be a headline at the New York Slimes and the Washington Compost. Maybe even on ESPN, Stephen. Come on, you can do this. Cut 8, go.
We definitely do share the concerns of the American people when it comes to the price of eggs. However, good news, the average cost of a dozen eggs is actually down since Secretary Rollins and President Trump announced their plan. It's down $1.85. So that's good news on the cost of eggs. And as we know, under the Biden administration, egg prices went up 22%.
Unfortunately, for the Democrats, the price, I think, of marijuana is way up, Mr. Producer. So there is that. Honestly, I don't have the foggiest idea. I've never smoked marijuana in my life, but I'm just saying it. Go ahead.
Example of an economic mess that President Trump inherited, and the Secretary of Agriculture and the President are focused on fixing it. Secretary Rollins put out a 4-point plan, to address this crisis. And she has been honest and realistic with the American people, as this administration always is. It will take about 3 to 6 months to get the egg supply back to where it should be. But she's focused, and this administration is focused on doing that every day.
Oh, well, we're going to have to ignore that. You know, the media are. President Trump commenting on prices, too. Cut 9, go.
But we didn't have these problems. I had no inflation. I had a great economy.
Absolutely right.
He gave you high prices. You couldn't buy bacon. You couldn't buy anything. And also, I inherited...
What's with bacon all the time? I love bacon, by the way. Go ahead.
Eggs. The price of eggs was through the roof. Well, now the price of eggs has come down a lot. Interest rates have come down. Gasoline prices have come down. It's all coming down. It's all a beautiful thing. I can do it the right way or the wrong way. We're doing it the right way. And I have tremendous confidence in this country and the people of this country. Tremendous confidence. Much more so than if I sat back for 4 years and had a good time in the Oval Office.
Mm-hmm. Like Biden, he sat back for 4 years, and I wonder what he did all the time by himself. Seriously. You don't hear anything about him right now, you know? Unfortunately, I think he's on the dark side of the mountain. I don't say that as a joke. I say that as reality. I think he's on stage 6 of the 7 stages of dementia. That's not funny. It's just reality. I'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is Hour 3, the Power Hour, the Mark Levin Show. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Lots more to go into. Ukraine agrees to a U.S. proposed ceasefire with Russia as Washington lifts intelligence and military aid holds. Now the ball's in Russia's court. Now we'll see what Russia does. All you Putinoids out there with your hemorrhoids, you might want to tell your great leader to step up. There was no immediate sign of reciprocity from the Kremlin, with Russia's State Duma Deputy Vitko Sobolov first off the mark to reject the proposal. Oh. Maybe he'll enjoy a deep dive off a building, Mr. Producer. You never know. The U.S. will rearm Ukraine in 30 days of a ceasefire and start the war anew. Russia will not go for it, he said. I think that this is completely unacceptable. Some kind of temporary ceasefire, temporary truce is unacceptable. Well, there you go. And by the way, Iran told our administration to stick it. They're not negotiating. Russia just told our administration to stick it. So I guess now it's time to attack Ukraine and attack Netanyahu. No, Mr. Producer? After all, you know, we can't shut down the government, ladies and gentlemen. What will happen? Well, the government has been shut down at least 20 times since, I think, the late 1970s. 6 times under Reagan. It's amazing. And we're still here. We're still here. But I want to do a little flashback put together by our friends at X, Twitter. The Democrats saying we can't shut down the government because every single Democrat voted about 2 hours ago to shut down the federal government. Oh, you Medicaid recipients, that includes you. Ooh. They want to save Medicare by destroying you, I guess. Flashback, montage, cut 10. Go.
We believe in governance. We want to keep government open. A shutdown is very serious.
There are real consequences when the government shuts down. It harms our national security, it harms our economy, and it harms service members, veterans, retirees, and vulnerable communities.
We all know a shutdown is unnecessary and completely avoidable.
The tragedy here is all the civilian employees. It is the American people who are going to suffer.
Border Patrol agents will not be paid. TSA agents will not be paid.
Is that a Hakim? I think that's Hakim.
will be hurt.
Not only is it irresponsible and purposely misleading, it is dangerous precedent to be threatening a shutdown.
I'm worried about our air controllers, those in the military. We have over almost 40,000 in the military, as well as personnel who work in the military, and they won't have checks. I mean, this is real.
There are real people's lives at stake.
It is not normal to hold 800,000 workers' paychecks hostage. It is not normal to shut down the government when we don't get what we want.
Our troops deserve better. Our children deserve better. And the American people deserve better.
These chaos agents, they don't have a plan B. They just want to see everything burn.
Shutdown is an extremist policy designed to appeal to an extremist base and hold the whole country hostage.
So if this shutdown, you know who's going to feel the pain? You know who it hurts? You.
Actually, the speaker put that together. And here's the speaker today at a press conference. After the successful vote, all Republicans but Massie, who voted for this continuing resolution. I mean, Chip Roy made the point. He said, look, we're going to give 6 months here. I mean, you got Elon Musk who's doing tremendous things that we never even thought would happen. We never even realized that this sort of thing could happen. Here's the speaker just about an hour or two ago. Cut 11, go.
They're planning to vote down this simple bill. They are going to try to shut the government down. Every House Democrat will participate in this. It looks like that would be a shame if it's true. I hope some of them will have a moment of clarity themselves and do the right thing, but it looks like they're going to try to shut down the government. It's a striking new posture for Democrats who have always said they've just been apoplectic about the prospect of government shutdowns.
Yeah, Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, as the president calls her. Communist know-nothing, as I call her. On MSLSD yesterday about the shutting down of the government, cut 12, go.
Do you think that Republicans are going to get 7 votes in your chamber to carry this over the finish line?
I don't think so. So let's talk about it this way. Keep in mind what the real thrust of all of this is about. There is a giant fight going on in Washington.
Here we go. We're going to get the Marxist propaganda. Marxist claptrap. Go ahead.
Out in different ways, but the basic fight is the Republicans want to give about $4.6 trillion in tax giveaways.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, no, they don't. They want to make sure that the tax cuts that have been in place for several years that you rely on stay in place. I mean, even Ronnie, one of our dogs, is fed up. He's barking at Pocahontas. He's saying, what the hell's wrong with her? I know how to interpret the barks of my dogs. He can't stand Pocahontas. He can't stand Denang Dick of Connecticut either, Mr. Bruce. He can't stand little Dick Durbin of Illinois. I know. I don't blame you. But I'm on the radio, Ronnie. I'm on the radio. You can tell all you folks out there with conservative dogs, Ronnie's trying to reach them right now. He's trying to reach. In fact, he's scratching at the door. Because somebody forgot to put the gate up upstairs, but that's okay. We believe in free dog speech here. We certainly do. Oh, and by the way, you should have heard him earlier today. Is he pissed off at the Hamas supporter that we're trying to deport? There he goes. All I have to say is Hamas. You see that? He's even choking now over it. He's fed up with it. Yeah, I know. Yep, I got it. I'm with you, Ronnie. I'm with you, baby. We only have patriotic dogs here, just so you know. Here's Elizabeth Warren on the floor today, face down in a bottle. No, actually on the floor of the Senate. Cut 13, go.
Donald Trump and co-president Elon Musk.
Why are you such a schmuck, lady? Just be honest. I mean, my dog can't stand you. I can't stand you. You get enough goofballs in Massachusetts who vote for you. I guess they like the entertainment. And co-president Elon Musk, like Biden, had multiple co-presidents. We don't even know who they were. Susan Rice, maybe. Alex and George Soros. Yeah. He hates Soros, too. Ronnie does. Wait until Toby gets down here. Oh, my God, does he hate Soros, Mr. Producer. Hates him. Now we have Jasmine Crockett. And I want to apologize to Davy Crockett, who was a great patriot, tremendous patriot, that this lady stole your name. Stole your name. And she's on cable, boy. She's on cable everywhere. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, Ronnie. Jasmine Crockett. Should be Jasmine Crackpot. Cut 14, go.
Yeah, I'm going to say that we don't want the government to shut down, and frankly...
Well, you just voted for it, moron. Now we'll go to Bernie Sanders, Bernie the Red, who's roaming the country like a good communist organizer. We're organizing the resistance, says the Stalinist. Says the guy who... What did he do? He was in Moscow. That's where he had his honeymoon. That must have been a blast, don't you think, Mr. Producer? Oh, yeah, he was having a blast there in Moscow. Bernie the Red, they're organizing the resistance. They love their government. The more waste, the more fraud, the more abuse. They're all for it, ladies and gentlemen. You got to understand it. They pretend they're for it. Oh, the billionaires. We got to get the money from the billionaires. I have a better idea. Let's get the money back from Botswana with the condoms or whatever the hell it was. That's a good idea. Or how about the group that got $2 billion? Stacey Abrams' favorite environment. Hey, I say we take that back. If you want to go after billionaires, how come you never go after Soros? Huh? Gates. What? Buffett. Who? They've got more billionaires than we do. Isn't it amazing? You know why? It's an oligarchy. They finally learned the word oligarchy. They've been listening to my show. They never heard oligarchy. What's that? I have an oligarchy? Is there a treatment for it? They're the ones who back the oligarchs. Let's move on from Jasmine Crockett on the Constipated News. See, CNN, they wonder why they have no... They bring this fool on, then they bring Bernie Sanders. Why would you bring a Stalinist on your program? Why are they defending a person who has links and supports the Hamas terrorists? This is American media today. This is CNN. This is MSNBC. This is the networks. How come we don't have an audience? How come we don't have any viewers? I mean, we go low. We bring in the dumbest, most moronic people we possibly can. We have Rachel Madcow. We have Al Sharpless. We've got, who else do we have? We got all kinds of weirdos, stupid people, low IQ for sure. I mean, that's the demographic we're going for. Why are our numbers thinking? Bernie Sanders, cut 15, go.
Well, he has called Social Security a Ponzi scheme.
And you have trashed your own country, you dumb bastard. Now, what he meant by Ponzi scheme, ladies and gentlemen, he's right. Not that Social Security per se is a Ponzi scheme, but what's been done to Social Security by the likes of Bernie Sanders. See, Marxism is a Ponzi scheme. Economic socialism is a Ponzi scheme. Bernie Sanders is a Ponzi scheme. A liar about what the government can and cannot do. He's called Social Security a Ponzi scheme. Go ahead.
They have already laid off 2,500 employees of the Social Security
So what?
Administration.
May I ask all you Social Security recipients out there, have you felt it? No, you haven't. Have you felt it? No, you haven't. How come big corporations are bad, but big government is good? Can somebody explain that to me? Go ahead.
Anderson, I think I speak for probably every
What did he
member
say? Anderson? What did he say there? Can you back that up ever so slightly? But I think he did, didn't he? Anderson. Go ahead.
In that the calls that we get in large numbers are people who are saying, I'm trying to get a hold of Social Security. I got a disability.
People were saying that before, you old man. Yeah, that's right. People can't get the Social Security Administration on the phone. Can't get the Medicare people on the phone. They're overwhelmed. It's not necessarily their fault. They can't get them on the phone. Can't get DMV on the phone. Can't get you on the phone, you jackass. You know? Oh, that's Elon Musk's fault. That's Elon Musk's fault? No, that's your fault, schmo. Go ahead.
Of anybody. And the reason is the Social Security Administration today is understaffed.
Yeah, so everything's understaffed. So why are you spending billions of dollars on crap? Where are the the 50 to $100 billion in Social Security? Bernie, where's the $500 billion that the federal government wastes every year, according to the GAO? Bernie, where is it all? Because we're understaffed, you see. We need more staff. I know. Let me take care. Ronnie's very upset. Very, very upset. Every time I mention the names of these fools, it's like Pavlov's dog, except it's Mark's dog. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Uh-oh, I maligned a family member. I did shut the gate. Well, somehow that dog opened that gate. Somehow Ronnie actually flipped the hook on the gate and it was wide open. Very strange. See, the dog's smarter than Elizabeth Warren. And smarter than Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders, the Stalinist. It's a government for billionaires. I'm billionaires. We're billionaires. Shut up, you idiot. So we're trying to cut massive bureaucracy. Trump is trying to cut taxes on tips, trying to eliminate taxes on Social Security, trying to eliminate taxes on overtime, trying to allow tax deductions on loans, not just mortgage loans, and trying to give people support, financial support, who look after their elderly people at home. And then Bernie Sanders went, it's for the billionaires. Billionaires. You know, we have a couple of very nice affiliates in Vermont. But I have an idea, and it's going to upset the affiliates, and I'm sorry. Rather than adding Canada as a 51st state, Mr. Producer, why don't we give them Vermont as an additional province? What do you think? Now, all you conservatives say it's not going to happen, obviously. But would that be so horrible? I mean, Canada is what Bernie Sanders wants. Hugely anti-Semitic, socialist, no real free speech, ask the truckers. Now, we have conservative Canadians who listen to this program very angry with me. I don't know why they're angry with me. I'm just behind a microphone. I have nothing against them personally. They elected Trudeau. That guy's a jackass. Now they elected another liberal because they got mad at Trump and they denied the conservative the prime ministership. You voted for these pukes, not me. You had the chance to elect a guy that was very much like Donald Trump, who I think would have gotten along with Donald Trump. But you went for another. They went for a guy that's like Trudeau, but without the charisma. Can you imagine? Basically a bureaucrat. Oh, that's a good one. But I'm starting to think we need a different kind of movement in America. I mean, if we had, and I told President Trump this, why would we want Canada as a 51st state? It's more liberal than California. Did you know that, America? I think I mentioned that a week or two ago, didn't I, Rich? And some clown actually repeats what I say on TV. It's so stupid. But that said, we don't need another 2 liberal senators and a bunch of liberal members of Congress and all that. And what are we going to do? Add the Canadian leaf to the flag? No. We don't need that. So I oppose President Trump on this. I have a better idea. Let's give them Vermont. It's a better idea. Get rid of the 2 communist senators, the communist congressmen. We'd visit Vermont. Vermont, please don't get me wrong. I've never been to Vermont. I think I raced through there once on the way to Maine. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. We love our affiliate there. We love the listeners to this program, but this isn't really about the listeners to this program who hate Colonel Sanders. Colonel, you know, in the Red Army. He's the colonel in the Red Army. That's what we'll call him from now on. Colonel Red Sanders, colonel in the Red Army. Oh, country of the billionaires. The Musks and the Bezos and the Zuckerberg. Isn't it amazing? All three of them used to be Obama supporters. All three of them used to be big Democrats. Now he calls them out. Notice who's not on his list. Soros. Why not Bernie? I'll be right back.
Conservative and proud of it. Call the Mark Levin Show at 877-381-3811.
Oh, I have. Okay. You know, ladies and gentlemen, the Democrats can't run on the truth. They have to run on lies. So they want you to believe that Social Security is under attack. Social Security is being untouched. Would you believe Medicare is under attack? Medicare is untouched. Would you believe Medicaid's under attack? Actually, Medicaid, the bums are going to be thrown off Medicaid, but they're actually increasing it. Newt Gingrich put a post up by $168 billion with knocking the bums off of it. So what exactly are they talking about? And why do you believe these people? They lie like the media. They just lie to you. It's called propaganda. They're called demagogues. That's what it is. Unfortunately, it happens even in republics. Time to jump into the gene pool. Are we ready? Let's do it. Daryl, Reno, Nevada, on the Mark Levin app. We love Reno, Nevada. How are you, sir?
Great, Mark. Thank you for taking my call.
You bet.
I would like to discuss Social Security insolvency. You've been the only pundit to call this out, and it's a coming train wreck, isn't it?
There's 100%. 100%. Every trustee in the last 10 years, Democrat and Republican, has said Social Security and Medicare are going to go broke. Now, what that means is, it's anywhere from 9 to 11 years. The first year where it doesn't have the assets to pay its liabilities, rather than 100%, recipients will be getting 79%. And the following year, they'll get slightly under 50%, and it goes on and on. But the Democrats' plan to do then is massively deficit spend more and massively increase taxes. That can't fix the problem. It won't fix the problem. The reform that's been proposed many times, and it is absolutely irrational, is that anybody who's on Social Security now is grandfathered in. They're untouched. Anybody who's 55 or older, because they don't really have time to plan for anything differently, they're grandfathered in. Anybody who's under that age, there's a phase-in period of time. The younger, the smaller the amount they would receive. As you get closer to 55, it increases. And so it is a very logical plan. It's based on the actuarial expectations and analysis of the population of the United States. The program will be sustained. But anytime you try to talk about it, the Democrats go nuts, the media go nuts, senior citizens are scared to death, and so it gets killed in the crib. And so, to Donald Trump's defense, he's got so much going on right now, and he's doing so much. It's not going to go broke while he's president, but that said, I fear what's going to happen, Daryl. I fear what's going to happen is it's going to go broke, and then they're going to have to figure out what to do with it. I think that's the only way politically it's going to get done.
Well,
and it'll be a very, very, it'll be a really horrific pill to swallow. Let me put it that way. The medicine's going to be brutal.
Absolutely. But, we can avoid this.
We can avoid it, but we're not going to.
Well, actually, I have a different approach to fixing Social Security. I for the last few months, I've developed a framework along with artificial intelligence that makes Social Security solvent.
I'll put it online and we'll look at it. I'll be happy to look at it. And I appreciate it, Daryl. We'll look forward to your proposal. Let's go to Moisha. Moisha, Brooklyn, New York, the great WABC. Yes, Moisha, how may I help you?
Thanks for taking my call. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say about the war in Israel and this whole hostage deal that's going on. I think it's wrong to talk about the hostages and put up kidnap signs, period, end of sentence, and here's why. Because when you put pressure about the hostages, it's a major distraction, and it's taking the bait of Hamas. The goal of the war is to send, in my opinion, to send a clear message to all the anti-Semites out there. You start with the Jews, you'll get destroyed. Instead of putting kidnap pictures all around, we should put pictures of destroyed...
Okay, slow down a second. What do you mean? These are families putting up kidnapped pictures and friends. You think they should pull them all down?
Well, the family itself of a hostage, I don't have any complaints.
Well, the government's not putting them up. The people are putting them up. Organizations are putting them up. Synagogues are putting them up. Volunteers are putting them up. So, number one, you're not really addressing what's taking place. Number two, if it's your point that when you're negotiating with Hamas and you keep talking about the hostages, what you're doing is you're giving them more reason to hold on to the hostages. You're giving them more reason to take more hostages. Is that your point that you're trying to make?
First of all, you're incentivizing them to take more hostages in the future. And also, I think it's insensitive when you're releasing terrorists. First of all, it's a danger to...
I already spoke about this on this program. Nobody's talking to the families who lost loved ones who were murdered by the terrorists that they're releasing. Those families are affected too, so you'll get no argument from me on that. When you're releasing thousands of terrorists, the vast majority of whom are unrepentant, that means eventually more people are going to die and be maimed. I get it. But that's the situation. There's a political situation in Israel. They have to take it seriously. Benjamin Netanyahu is under attack constantly by the left, who in my view is now exploiting the hostage situation to try and take him down first and foremost because they're obsessed. They're unhinged like the left in our country. Thank you for your call, my friend. He's trying to get the hostages out without creating a scenario in which you're incentivizing the taking of hostages. But he's been pressured by the Biden regime. He was pressured by this envoy. I forget the guy's name. Never heard of him before. And, he's got to deal with reality. That's what he's got to deal with. So there we are. But the idea you take down all the signs, and I don't agree with that. You got loved ones who are being heinously treated and were taken and so forth. I have no problem. It's like putting up these posters. And what does he expect families to do? Families of children and family members that have been taken hostage, of course they're going to want their family out. It's only rational for them. They're going to want the government to do more to get their family members out. It's only rational for them. You know, you have a very unique man who is the ambassador to the United Nations from Israel. He's Ambassador Leiter. And in one of the first assaults on Gaza after the October 7 massacre, his son was a commander and 39 years old, and he was killed. And he came on this program. And he supported the Prime Minister of Israel. He said, we have to be tough in dealing with these people. We must be tough in dealing with these people, or they'll take more hostages and they'll kill more of the hostages that they have. He's now the ambassador to the United Nations from Israel. So there's a lot of, so it's a complex environment over there right now. It's a very difficult environment. It's very upsetting to so many people there, so many families there, and I get it. It's all about, well, we should take down the posters and take down the, so we'll tell people to take down the posters? No, I don't think so. They want to have their posters up. I get it. They want to lobby the government. I get it. But Netanyahu and his government have to do what they think is right. And there's been way too much external pressure on them. They know better than anybody else what to do. I mean, look what the man's done, despite the fact that they're trying to throw him out of office. Not with an election, with a coup, a judicial coup. Look at Ehud Barak and the other sickening bastards over there. Dark money's been raised in our country and over there and in Europe to install a Lapid or a Gantz or these left-wing kooks who will give the store away, who used to support a two-state solution and so forth and so on. Why? Because, they're just easier, you see, for the West to negotiate with. Well, that's not the test if you're the people of Israel or the United States, for that matter. That's not the test.
Mark Levin.
My beloved mother-in-law has been in the hospital. Her name's Sylvia. We call her Yummy because that's what the grandkids called her. Because the grandmother, the great-grandmother, was called Gummy. Don't ask me. It's just a cute thing. You know, that's what people do. And she is a lovely lady, a very proper lady, a tremendous Trump supporter, tremendous conservative, a tremendous Mark supporter. I mean, it's my understanding she and her husband Leo would listen to my radio show long before others in the family did. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Original Levinites, you might say. So, we're very focused on getting her well and bringing her home. And that's damn well what we're going to do. We're going to bring her home. And sooner than later. All right. Some more callers here. Let me pull up the list. Ooh, look at this. Let's go. Larry, Roberts, Illinois, the great WRPW. Larry, go.
Mark, I represent that remark about your dog being smarter than me, but I have a question.
Smarter than you? No. Smarter than Elizabeth Warren.
Okay.
You're not Elizabeth Warren, are you, with a sore throat?
No, I'm not.
I just want to make sure. You're not Pocahontas, are you?
No, I'm not.
All right, go right ahead, my friend.
Anyway, I'd like to know what is up with that Massie from Kentucky. I mean, the guy, we knew he was going to be a holdout, but what is up with this guy?
Look, here's the deal. Here's the deal. He's actually a very nice man, but he doesn't know when to say yes. So here's the situation. You have every other single conservative, including the Freedom Caucus, saying yes, because they've reasoned it this way. We got to get Trump's agenda through in order to save the economy, in order to secure the border, in order to build up our military. We've got a huge spending problem. So they're actually slashing spending several billions of dollars except for defense. But they also know that Donald Trump and Elon Musk and the team are slashing the federal government. We see it. It's under attack, what they're trying to do. Tonight, 1,200 of the people, the bureaucrats at the Department of Education, got pink slips. They're trying to shut down USAID. They're going through the spending at the Environmental Protection Agency. I mean, it's all through the government. And they're making tremendous headway like we've never seen before. And so they're saying, we got to give them at least 6 months till September to do their job. This is where Massie's off the rails, in my view. This is where he's off the rails. He says, no, it's now or never. But it's not going to happen now. What he wants is not going to happen now. So this is a major league first step. And when you really can't afford to lose really any votes, you lose his. If you lost one more, maybe two more, the Democrats would win. So you're 100% right. Massie's just dead wrong on this. Thank you for your call. I still think that might be Pocahontas in drag. Just kidding, Larry. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, our truckers, and our brothers and sisters in Ukraine. Good move today. Our brothers and sisters in Israel, we have your back. And you, red-blooded American citizens, God bless each and every one of you. And I'll see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful evening.